Okay, good. So, yeah, most people are here today. Let's see, still a few people trickling in. Nick, you seem to be in twice, just an FYI. That's okay. Just make sure if you unmute yourself, just unmute yourself only on one place of the.
No color.
We're going to meet twice.
Sorry.
Who else is? Everyone else, you've got your webcams on. That's great. Sue, oh yeah, Sue, there you are. Hello. Your webcam, you look like you're on your phone, which is good. Okay, so Neil's coming in. Good assignment, good exercise movement. Really got you guys thinking. Thank you for sending over your selection of photos. Um, Really good to see. Looking forward to going through those and discussing some things that we can learn from them. Um, just before we start, one thing that I reminded you of last time, and I just wanted to ask, is have any of you, I know a few of you have it already, but for those of you who didn't have it, have any of you had the chance to download that Lightroom app on your phone? Rather than a nod, can I just have a hands up just so I can put your hands up? There we go. If you, okay. So the majority, Neil's got it. I know Nick's already got it on his computer. Lucy, did you have a chance to download it? I can't hear you, but you can give me a thumbs up. Hey, Lucy. Hello. Did you thumbs up? Did you get Lightroom or did you not get Lightroom? Thumbs up. Okay, Arlie, did you? I think Arlie already had it from my memory. Perfect. Okay, good. So we'll talk a little bit about Lightroom. Kerry, do you have a question? I see your hand
Nope.
up. Okay, great. So have your phones at the ready today, because especially when it comes to movement, we're going to talk about some ways in which we can take a little bit more control of the camera on the iPhone. Um, the iPhone, in truth, I know some of you are on cameras, but predominantly most of you are shooting on iPhones. The iPhone, when you point it at a subject, has no idea if it's a hummingbird, a sloth, or the branch of a tree. I.e., that's to say, it has no idea whether any movement is occurring. Oh, whoever's on
Take a
there, do you
picture of
mind
me.
just muting yourself, please?
Well, you're moving and it's a movement.
Picture chewing.
Hold on. Sorry. I think it's Ali. You may have to mute yourself, please.
We should keep our voices down so she can listen to. I was just trying to get it so that you could hear, but I'm not able to right now.
It's always fun when we're privy to these conversations. Hopefully, whoever is, please mute yourself. There we go. I think we got it. Okay. So what I was saying was the iPhone doesn't distinguish movement. It has no idea. The iPhone's primary job is to give you a picture at the correct brightness. So it does everything it can to change certain variables that all happen behind the scenes on your camera to give you a photo that doesn't look overexposed, that's too bright, and doesn't look underexposed, that's too dark. But it doesn't know anything else. Everything else, ideally, you have to control. Now, we've spent a lot of time as a group thinking about primarily the conceptual elements of photography, framing, leading lines, rule of thirds, so a little bit of color, like how to, which is maybe 80% of the challenge is how do we see better? Like when you see better, then your photography just goes from here to here. But we do have to layer in a little bit of the technical. And that's why I encourage you to download the Lightroom app on your phone, because one thing that we're going to do today is we're going to talk about something which I think most of you may be familiar with. I'll actually do a show of hands again. Just do a show of hands if you know what shutter speed is. Hands up. Just keep your hands up, sorry, because I have to flick through everyone. Okay, good. That's what I presumed. So like 85 to 90% of us in the group have an understanding. And I may reinforce it today and show it to you in a different way. But one of the many things that we can do on our iPhone when we download the Lightroom app is we can start to control the shutter. And the shutter is all one of the things that the shutter speed does is control how movement looks in our picture. Whereas you'll see in a minute when we look at some pictures, we're going to look at some shutter speeds and I'm going to get you to start thinking about the numbers. When the iPhone is automating the whole thing, which is what normally happens when you go in your camera app, then sometimes it makes a mistake. And I would say maybe 50% of the time it makes a mistake. There's a great phrase that I've told you guys before, but I'll remind you, I love this one. It's the best camera is the 2 inches behind it, i.e. you. The iPhone is really smart, but you're still smarter than it, and you still know what you're trying to take a photo of. And remember, we're trying to do everything with intention. We're trying to slow down, take a moment, which is hard when there's movement going on ahead of us. But even when there's a dog running on the beach, or a kid is coming down a slide, or there's a gorilla like eating a plant, or whatever it is, you've got to slow down. You've got to think about, how am I going to frame this? Where's the lighting coming from? Let's call out some people. Just remind me, where do I ideally want the lighting coming from? You're on mute, but I think I got that. So since I think said, I saw the from behind you, which is true. No, you're off mute now. Is that what you said?
Behind. Yes, that's
Yeah,
what I
great.
said.
I saw you insinuate like over your right, over your left shoulder. All of that is going to still come into play, and we're going to look at your photos and discuss it. But I do want to gradually introduce some more technical concepts today, which I can do now that you all have the Lightroom app downloaded on your phone, which I couldn't do last time. So I'm going to start by sharing some of your pictures. We'll look at a few of them. We'll get an idea of what's going on, and then we will go from there. Just thinking. Actually, I'm going to do it the other way around. I've decided I'm going to do it the other way around. So hold on 1 second. Okay, so just going to share my screen again. I'm going to do, just to make sure we're leveled up as a group. For most of you, this will be reinforcement, but it's good to make sure. I saw a few hands didn't come up. So I just want to make sure for 5 minutes I cover it so so no one feels left behind. So if we look here, okay, the fundamentals of photography when it comes to the technical side of things is any picture that is created is the interaction of three main elements. One that I just mentioned called the shutter speed, one is called the aperture, and one is called the ISO. And hopefully you guys know what these are, but if you don't worry, because I'm going to reinforce them because I have to make sure that you all know what they are. Each one of these variables creates something called the exposure triangle. And this is like photography 101. This would be like one of the first things they would teach you if you went to photography school. And the reason it's in a triangle like this is because each of the variables interact with each other. So imagine I sometimes use the analogy of like a tug of war. Imagine there's a rope like tying these guys together, and there's a rope tying these guys together. If I pull on the rope to change the shutter speed, then something's going to change with the ISO and something's going to change with the aperture. These three variables do not live exclusively of one another. They're inextricably connected. Now, and again, don't worry if you don't know what these are just yet, but their main job, and this is true when I'm looking at like all of you through your webcam, all of your webcams produce a picture by using a combination of ISO, aperture, and shutter speed to ultimately control how much light gets to your camera. That's their main job. The primary job of all of these things is to do with light. How bright or how dark is our photograph? They each do it in slightly different ways, but they're all to do with affecting the fancy word for it in photography. You often hear me say overexposed, underexposed. Exposure is a word we use in photography that can either mean the photograph. I could be judging a focus contest and say, great exposure rather than great shot, great image. It's just another word for photograph. But in this context, exposure refers to how bright or how dark your photograph is. Okay. Today, we are going to almost exclusively focus on this first one because I set you an assignment of movement, and you'll see why in a minute. And if anyone, by the way, because I'm going to get a little bit more technical today, if anyone has any questions or I'm going too fast, no question is a silly question. Just, even if I don't see you, just unmute yourself, interrupt me, put your hand up first, but sometimes I don't see you. And just let me know.
Adam, could you talk just a little bit about ISO because I don't really get it. I don't know what it is.
Okay. Yeah, I'll touch on it, but I'm going to get to it another time. But I'll just quickly refer to it. So if any of you ever used a film camera, then you used to buy a film and it had like a number on it. It had like 100, 200, 400. They call it a speed. But essentially that was an ISO number. That number referred to how sensitive the piece of film was to light. So if you were going in a really dark environment and you wanted to photograph something, you would have to get a roll of film that had what's called a higher speed or a higher ISO, i.e. it was more sensitive to light. The problem is with that a film camera, in a film camera, is you were stuck with all of that. You were stuck. You had to take 26, 32 pictures all at the same, theoretically, ISO. So you couldn't really like go inside and then go outside and then go inside and then go outside. You could, but you had to change a lot of other things on the camera. Since digital photography has been invented 20 so years ago, is ISO, the strict definition of it refers to how sensitive your camera sensor is to light. So if you imagine if I chopped open a camera, okay, well, this could be your iPhone, the light comes in from here. Okay, so here's the light coming in. And right at the back of your camera, here, the very back thing, and it's on an iPhone, it's just like hidden in the back here, if we chopped it open, is something called a sensor. And the sensor is actually where the picture is created. And what ISO refers to is how sensitive that digital sensor is to light. And unlike a film camera where you were stuck with, I've put in a piece of film and I've got to take 32 pictures at ISO 2000, just making a number up. On a digital camera, you can change it at any point. It's really easy. You just dial it up or dial it down. So you're essentially affecting the exposure, the brightness of your picture. Higher numbers make it brighter, more sensitive to light. Lower numbers make it darker. There's tons of reasons that we do that, and I'll get to them later on. But hopefully that just gives you a little introduction to ISO for those of you who didn't know what it was. But I'm going to go into more detail in it in time. I just don't want to overload you too quickly. But the definition is just how sensitive the camera's sensor is to light. The higher the number, the more sensitive it is to light. The lower the number, the less sensitive it is. Okay. Anyone else got any questions before I move on? Good. Hopefully that answers your question as well, Pam. At least gives you an introduction. So all three of these things control the brightness and darkness of our photo. And they all intertwine with each other. As I say, we're gonna primarily look at shutter speed, but we'll touch on our ISO a little bit maybe later today. So let's go past all of this. Okay, so I'm going to spend 5 minutes on shutter speed for those of you who don't know what it is, but good refresher for those of you who do. Again, here's my camera. This could be a phone. Okay, here's my light coming through the camera. Okay, so here's the light. Again, right at the back, I'll do it in yellow this time. We have the sensor. This is where the picture is created. And right in front of the sensor, you have what's called the shutter. It's right in front, like here. And the best way to think about the shutter is it's like, and for those of you who used older cameras, every time you took a picture, you would have heard like a different, that's the mechanical shutter opening and closing. On your iPhone, it's all electronic, but it's still there and it's still important. It's just not a mechanical part, but it's still useful to think of it as a mechanical part because it helps people understand it. So what the shutter can do is it can open or close like a pair of curtains to let light reach the sensor at the back. It can open or close really quickly. Hardly lets in any light to the sensor. It can open for a prolonged period of time, like opening. Imagine, I always say to people, the easiest way to think about it is imagine you're in a you're in your bedroom. It's dark outside. No, sorry, it's dark in your bedroom. You've got blackout lights, but it's bright outside. If you open your curtains and close them really quickly in your bedroom, you're not going to let much light into your bedroom. If you open them and you count to 50, tons of light is going to come in your bedroom. And then you close them again. So it controls the amount of time that light has to get to the camera sensor. And it's really important to understand that the shutter sits just in front of the sensor. It's like the last line of defense before we get to the really important thing, which is where the picture is taken. So just for those of you who are, I can see a lot of you are writing notes. I'm just going to, so this is the shutter. Okay. I'm going to go nice and slow here so we're all on the same line. So shutter speed, which is what you more commonly hear, which is one of those three variables in the exposure triangle. The strict definition of shutter speed is how much time is the shutter open for? As I say, is it really quick? Is it really slow? Or is it somewhere in between? But that's the definition of shutter speed, the amount of time that the shutter is open. And it's measured in seconds. We're going to see this is going to make a lot of sense to you in a minute when I look at your photos, which is why I actually wanted to do this first. So it's measured in seconds, and it's usually measured, don't worry about this stuff for the time being. It's usually, the way you usually see it expressed is as a fraction, like this. And this, for example, this means 1/500th of a second, 1/250th of a second, 1/125th of a second. I could carry this on and go 1/100, just make up some numbers, 1/50, 1/25. What's happening here, and this takes a little bit of getting used to, especially if you're not a numbers person, is as we're jumping, I'm changing the shutter speed here from 1/500th of a second to 1/150 of a second to 1/125 a second. The shutter speed is getting slower. And people find it a little bit tricky at the beginning to get their head around this. So the shutter speed is getting slower because the number is decreasing. So essentially, the smaller that fraction, I'm trying to think back to my math at school because I'm not, which I think is the denominator, is the bottom number. Correct me if I'm wrong for those of you who may be mathsy. But this number is the one we care about. And when this number becomes smaller, that is a slower shutter speed. Instead of 1/1000th of a second, it's half a second. That's two extremes. Okay? The main takeaway, don't worry about the numbers too much at the moment, is just that shutter speed is the amount of time the shutter is open and that it's measured in seconds. Okay? Anyone got any questions? Okay, good. So, why is it important? Well, it's important because it controls the amount of light that gets into the camera. But I always like to say that each one of those variables, shutter speed, aperture, ISO, has a creative side effect, i.e., as well as controlling the amount of light that gets to the camera, it does something else creatively to change how our photo looks. And the side effect of shutter speed is all to do with movement, which is why I'm showing it to you here. So we can use shutter speed to make a hummingbird look like it stopped, which amazingly you can do on your iPhone now. You never used to be able to, but it's pretty impressive some of the stuff you can do on your phone. But for those of you with cameras as well, you're probably familiar with this, but the faster the shutter speed, the more we freeze action. The slower the shutter speed, the more we show time. And you'll see some examples of this in a minute. So feel free to take a picture of this slide if you're not familiar with shutter speed, but shutter is the time it's opened, it's measured in seconds, it's using a fraction, and it's creative side effect. It's whenever we think about movement in photography, we should always be thinking about shutter speed. And in truth, 95% of the photos that you take, movement is going to have to be a consideration. Because either the thing you're taking a picture of is moving, even if it's just a flower in the wind like this, it's still moving, or you're moving. Every time you take a picture, you're breathing, you're not a statue. But sometimes you're on a boat, sometimes you're on a plane, sometimes you're on a wobbly bridge. Like all of that will affect how movement is expressed in your photograph, which we'll talk through next. Okay. So today, not right now, but later, I'm going to basically get you to put your iPhones into something called shutter speed priority. I don't want, when Pamela asked about ISO, I kind of went down the rabbit hole, but I didn't go too far down the rabbit hole because I want us to do one thing at a time. And I'm going to get you guys by the end of today confident in changing your shutter speed. But I don't want you to have to worry necessarily about these other two variables. In the long term, yeah, great, but it's too much at the beginning. And we've got a bit of a mixed group here. So I just want to, as I say, I want to make sure I don't leave anyone behind. So shutter speed priority is basically where we control the shutter speed. We're going to say to our iPhone, I want the shutter speed on X, Y, or Z for certain reasons. And I let the camera control the other things. Otherwise, I'm going to end up with a picture that's way too bright or way too dark. Common issue at the beginning. And I'll show you how to do this in a minute, but I want to run through the theory first. So there's, not to scare you, but on your iPhones, there's probably about 450 shutter speeds that you can choose. So you're like, where on earth do I start? Because in a minute, when I show you how to use it, you're going to be like, oh my God, there's so many numbers, and where's the right number to start? There's a few numbers I just kind of want you to sear in your brain. We're going to memorize them. And the first one is 1 over 125. 1 over 125th of a second. If you are walking around, taking pictures in a garden, capturing life on the street, not doing anything crazy, 1 over 125 is a great starting point. To give you some context why I say that is we see the way that we compute light and movement is we see it about 1/100th of a second as humans. Our brain is processing all of these imageries in front of us very, very quickly. 1/100th of a second is really fast. I like to give it a little bit more buffer than that, than what our brain sees. So 1 over 125, write it down, is usually a good shutter speed to start. If you're on vacation, you're just wandering around, you want to play a little bit with movement, but you don't know where to start, that's our first number we're going to remember. The second number we're going to remember that I don't have written down here is, but I just mentioned it. Most of the time, you guys are not going to have a tripod. You're not going to have something to rest your camera on. You may be able to find a wall or a bench or a thing, but technically you're not really going to be able to find somewhere to rest your camera on. You're just taking pictures, what we call handheld. When you're taking a picture handheld, even the steadiest hand is going to move a tiny bit when you take the picture. Then if it's cold or windy or lots of other things, you're going to move more. That movement of your hand can ruin a picture, can create something called motion blur or camera shake, referred to as one of the other two. I see this happen so much in GCA when I sit with the judges and the judging panel, and they'll ding a picture because they'll say picture not sharp, like camera shake detected, motion blur detected. So we want to try and avoid that. And the way that we avoid that is we don't let the shutter speed, the opening of the curtains and the closing of the curtains, go past a certain cutoff. If we leave them open for a long time, let's just imagine I left them open for 1 second, one, close, In that 1 second, when I press the button and the camera takes a picture over a whole 1 second period, it is impossible for me to keep my hands still. Some of you may have seen this. The iPhone does it automatically. If you're in like low light or night, it will say, please hold camera still, hold steady. You get a little mark at the top. That's trying to encourage you to make your camera as sturdy and steady as you can because the iPhone has defaulted to a slower shutter speed. So here's the number I want you to remember, 1/50th. I don't want you, when we start playing with shutter speeds in a minute, ideally, unless you're using a tripod or you're resting your camera on something. I actually have this great little, I just got this case I really like actually. Obviously, I mean, I'm a professional photographer, so I have tripods, but a lot of you won't have tripods. I got this great little case on Amazon that another photographer recommended to me that has this little kickstand here, and it essentially can make it a tripod, and it can rest it this way or this way. It was like $30 on Amazon, um, but really good for like if you need it and you want a tripod. It's a nice little case. Maybe I'll send it out. I'll just put that in a link when I send out the recording, if you're interested. But 1/50th is a number you have to learn when you start getting more into photography. Now, for some of you, you may put up your hand and you say, Adam, I've tried shooting slower than this and it's been fine. True. But if you start shooting at shutter speeds that are like 1/30th, 1/20th, 1/10th, this is getting slower, your hit rate, your success rate, if you were taking 10 pictures, is going to get less and less and less. This one, I'd hope 100% would be sharp and great. If you're at 1/10th, maybe you take 10 and 2 or 3 would be good. And 7 you'd have to chuck out, which I don't want. I want us to be more intentional. So 2 big shutter speed numbers to remember there. 1/125 is our starting point, and we're going to try to not go slower than 1/50th when hand holding the camera. Okay. Again, I'm going to pause there for a second, see if anyone's got any questions. Okay.
Adam, was it 150 or 50?
1/50. So it's a fraction.
1/50.
So
Thank
that's
you.
a 50th of a second. Still
Got
really
it.
fast. Yeah. And you'll see in a minute when we play with the shutter speeds, hopefully the numbers will start to make sense. But yeah, it's 1/125 and 1/50 is the cutoff for hand holding a camera. And that's pretty industry standard. There's ways around it, but it's a good point to start off with. Anyone else got any questions? Okay, good. Stick with me through this technical stuff. We need it. So, what happens when we use a really fast shutter speed? Okay. Fast shutter speed in photography is considered anything faster than 1/500. Those guys, girls who were shooting the Super Bowl last night, they're all using extremely fast shutter speeds. 1/1000, 1/2000, 1/4000 of a second. I can't move my hands that quickly. And the reason they're doing that is because they want the players to be frozen and look like they're not moving. They need to capture action. We tend to use fast, really fast shutter speeds for anything where there's any form of action. That could be sports, that could be wildlife, that could be your dog running in the park, like it could be a squirrel scampering up a tree, whatever it may be. Anything where there's any type of action, we need a fast shutter speed. A really good way to remember this is fast shutter speed equals freeze motion. Fast equals freeze. 2 F's. Good way to remember it if you're not familiar with it. So the only problem though is when we use a fast shutter speed, it lets in basically no light to our camera. So our camera freaks out and it's like, oh my God, I'm taking a picture at the Super Bowl. It's already getting dark. It's 6 o'clock in the evening and you're telling me that I'm basically going to get no light. But it's a non-negotiable. You have to use it. Otherwise, the players would be blurry. The cheetah on safari would be blurry. My 4-year-old going down a slide would be blurry. you have to get up to the fast shutter speeds to be able to freeze motion. Interestingly, just an aside for a second, just made me think of the Super Bowl. Um, if you've ever been to any type of sports event or been out and seen birding photographers, people will often have these like ginormous lenses. This is not a ginormous lens, but people will have these really like long lenses this way. They're long because they let them be able to zoom all the way down the football field. So they can be in one end zone and they can be capturing someone 80 yards away, like a play all the way down there. But interestingly, which most people don't think about, is they're also really big this way. They have a huge opening, much like maybe 10 times bigger than what I've got here. Reason being is because all the camera manufacturers know that the people who tend to use the big zoom lenses are capturing action. And because they're using fast shutter speeds, one other way that they can let in light is by having a bigger hole. It would be very hard with an iPhone to go and shoot an action shot of the Super Bowl. You could do it, but it would be hard. But in most situations, the technology in the iPhone has come on leaps and bounds, especially in the last 3 years, where the majority of shots are very attainable through the control of shutter speed when it comes to movement. So just make a note, and I'm gonna give you guys a little table in a minute that's gonna help. And I know some of you may have seen this before, which is good because it's reinforcement. Anything in excess of 1/500th of a second is a fast shutter speed and is used to freeze movement. Look at these two. So this is hummingbird. One on the, in fact, this one, I should have actually labeled this better. This one is 1/8000th of a second. And this one is a bit slower, 1/4000th of a second. Now, interestingly, look at these birds here. What's the difference? Let's find someone else. Kerry, what's the difference between the wings and the head of the bird?
Well, in this photo, the wings are closer to the camera.
Mm-hmm.
But also they're moving a lot faster than the head.
That's the key here in this. Well done. Nice job, Kerry. So the wings they are moving much quicker than the head. So the shutter speed here at 1/4000, yes, this wing is closer to the camera, but I would argue this wing is further away from the camera. Same with these two here. The reason that these wings are not perfectly sharp is because the shutter speed is correct for the head, but isn't fast enough to freeze the wings. And in photography, in the real world, this happens the whole time, where you will have multiple things moving at different speeds. General rule of thumb, and this is not, there's no really rules in photography, but general rule of thumb is you always want to set your shutter speed to the fastest anticipated moment of your subject. That's to say, I'll use a simple example. My dog is sleeping on the couch. Okay. My dog's sleeping on the couch and I want to take a picture of him. I don't really need that faster shutter speed because he's not moving very much. He's breathing, but he's not really moving. The problem is if he suddenly hears someone at my doorbell and he pounces up and I want to get a picture of him springing off the couch, I'm not going to have time to react and change my shutter speed for the movement that he has just created. Say, I'll use another example. You're on safari and there's, I don't know, there's a lion sleeping. You don't need a very fast shutter speed to capture the lion sleeping, unless you're moving and you're in a jeep and you're going across. But that lion could very quickly get up and move. And general rule is you want to set your shutter speed to the fastest thing that could happen with your subject. Does that make sense to everyone? That's the fastest anticipated movement of your subject. Okay, good. So let's flick to slow shutter speed. We're going to go back to fast shutter speed in a minute, but I just want to make sure we cover the full spectrum. So unlike fast shutter speeds that freeze movement, slow shutter speeds, they show movement. Slow equals show. So fast equals freeze, slow equals show. Good way to remember it. So slow shutter speeds allow us to see a period of time. This is Niagara. So this a long time ago. This is not taken on an iPhone, but you could easily take this on an iPhone now. This is Niagara, and this is a 2-second exposure. So what that means is I put my camera down, I went to take the picture, I framed it, I got it exactly how I want, and I pressed the button, and the shutter in front of the sensor went 1, 2, close. And what that does is that lets in a lot more light. 1, 2, close. That any movement that occurs while my shutter is open, the camera sees. You see this, people come to me the whole time and they're like, Adam, I like, help me take pictures of soft, like make the waterfalls go like soft and silky because I don't know how to do that. It's all in the shutter speed. It's all understanding the shutter speed. People also come to me the whole time and they're like, I've been trying to take pictures of my kid's soccer game and I've taken 400 photos and everyone is blurry. And I don't understand why. That's because they got the wrong shutter speed. And these shutter speed numbers are quite intimidating at the beginning, but the more you practice, the more they become instinctive and subconscious. And you'll start to know what's the right shutter speed for X, Y, and Z situation, or depending if you want to do something creative. So I could have taken a picture of this just like a normal waterfall. Still would have been a nice picture. But the interesting thing is that the slow shutter speed lets in more light. And when we let in more light, we let in more of something called dynamic range. You've heard me talk about this word before. Let's ask someone if they can. Anyone remember what dynamic range means? Anyone want to give it a stab? Anyone want to try? Nick, you want to try? Until you need to take yourself off mute.
Yeah, I always have trouble coming off mute. It's the amount of shadows versus brights. It's how much you can control in one photo.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, it's the strict definition is, it's really good, Nick. It's the amount of light that your camera can see. From the darkest of the darks, the shadows, to the brightest of the brights, the highlights. When we use slower shutter speeds, our cameras see more light. And subsequently, they see more of this thing called dynamic range. Just the amount of light that you capture is greater. When you have more dynamic range, which always happens with a slow shutter speed picture, so here equals more dynamic range. And there's lots of ways you can do this on the camera, but slow shutter speed is an easy one to get there. More dynamic range, I always say, equals 3 Cs. Because when you have more dynamic range, you have more color. The more light you see, the more color you see. The perfect analogy I always use for this is the northern lights. The northern lights don't look in real life necessarily how bright they see in a picture that you see it, and it's because the photographer has opened up the shutter speed for a prolonged period of time, let's say 10 seconds, 1, 2, 3, count to 10, close the curtains. During that time, the northern lights have danced across the sky, and the camera is picking up all of that light, all of that dynamic range. And they end up looking more like the sky in real life. When I was standing there, did not look this color, and the waterfall did not look this color. The colors were there, they were just more muted. But by slowing down the shutter speed, I increase the color, that's the first C. I increase the contrast, that's the second C. And I increase the clarity, which is the third C. All always, and there's tons of ways in photography we can increase our dynamic range. But the resultant effect of that is always the same. We see more light, we see more color, we see more contrast, we see more clarity. Easy one to remember once you, hopefully that mnemonic of the 3 C's helps a little bit. But the key is that slow shutter speeds show movement. That's the thing you got to understand. Really simple picture. I took this like 3 weeks ago with a group that I was with. It's on an iPhone. The shutter speed here is, now it's not a great photo, but it just shows movement. Shutter speed here is 1 second. So I went 1, close, as the bus went past. The bus is a blur. The building's back here. They're not exposed correctly, but the building's back here, and the road, look at the road, is perfectly sharp. Why is this obvious question, but I'm going to ask someone. Why is the road so crisp, but the bus is blurry? Let's ask Neil. We haven't asked Neil today. Hey, Neil.
Why did I think you were going to ask me? Because the road and the building are not moving. So basically you're giving yourself the opportunity to get a clearer picture with a slow shutter speed.
Yeah, you got it. So the road is not moving, the bus is moving. Anything that moves in front of my camera during that period of time, I'm going to see blur. I'm going to see motion. You see this? I'll share my whole screen with you. Hold on, let me just show you. So you see this used a lot like, so you see this used a lot like actually with people who will take pictures like this in Africa, and you'll see the legs like that. Now that's very similar to the bird photo that I showed you earlier. Why do you think the cheetah's head looks sharp, but the legs are blurry? It's because they're moving at different.
The shutter speed must be focused on the head.
Yeah, it's and the key to understand is that the cheetah's legs are moving much quicker. The cheetah's legs are going, and the head is moving, but it's not moving as fast as the legs. You see this a lot used in, there's a very famous picture. I'll show you this. It's quite a funny picture. Of Usain Bolt, who won the Olympics, actually a photographer who I know, who used a slow shutter speed to photograph the 100 meters final. Okay, let's hope it speeds up. Come on. I'm trying to find a good crisp version of it. There we go. So here's Usain Bolt running at however many, like very, very, very fast. His face is not moving nearly as quickly as his hands. This picture doesn't have his legs in it, but this photographer was managed to capture a really neat picture, which became really famous, of him like smiling as he went. And look at all the people's legs here and their arms. The shutter speed was fast enough for Usain Bolt's head, but the photographer intentionally went a little bit slower than they should have gone to freeze him, to make it look like they were all moving really quickly, to create this thing called motion blur. See it used again and again and again. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense, seeing some of those images like that. So we come back here, okay, and we look at our next picture. Let's call on, oops. Okay, let's look at this picture. It's kind of an interesting picture to look at when it comes to shutter speed. Let's ask Sue. Okay, hey Sue. So Sue, what's the difference here in the water, the clouds, and the building?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We got it.
Okay. So the water seems pretty clear. This is hard on an iPhone. The clouds are a little more blurry. And what'd you say? What was the third thing?
The water, the clouds, and the building.
Well, the water is pretty clear too. Yeah, the water, the clouds, and the water and the building are very clear. The clouds are very hazy.
Yeah, maybe you're having a hard time seeing it on the iPhone. I would argue that the water is clear, but look in this waterfall here that's coming down into the swimming pool. We're seeing some motion there. That looks like kind of soft and silky. The water is moving here. I mean, all the water's moving. In fact, even the trees, for those of you who aren't on an iPhone, you'll be able to see this a bit better on your computer. The trees here are not perfectly sharp. That's because they're blowing in the wind. The clouds look a bit kind of soft and movement. It was really windy when this picture was taken. But the key to understand is those things are becoming blurry. Again, this is a 1 second exposure, which I'm going to teach you how. You can do all of this on your iPhone. But the building has stayed perfectly sharp. Because you could do this for 30 seconds and the building's not going to move. To take shutter speed, some people get so into slow shutter speed, it becomes all they do on their photography. They get really into slow shutter speed photography, and that's great because it allows you to be creative. There's a whole genre of slow shutter speed photography called star trails, where people will take pictures like this. And they'll go out into like a national park in the middle of nowhere. Hopefully, there we go. And that looks photoshopped. It's not. They've got their camera, they've stuck it on a tripod because it can't move. They've set it up and they've done like a 6 hour exposure. And they've just left the camera. They've probably gone to bed and then they've come and picked it up. And what you're seeing here is you're seeing the rotation of the Earth. You're seeing the stars moving around. Obviously, we don't see this in real life. This is a really, really popular astrophoto. I teach workshops on this the whole time. But this is extreme slow shutter speeds. But you can start being really, really creative. Have any of you ever seen pictures like this before? And most people think that these aren't real. They think like someone's like taken a picture like that and they've messed around with it in Photoshop. That one, maybe they've added the colors a little bit. But the movement is real. But the tree, why does the tree stay really sharp? Anyone got any ideas? Yeah, it's because it's not moving. I can see a few of you mouthing. The tree doesn't move. I could take this for 3 days if I wanted to. The tree would always be sharp. Because the tree, unless, I mean, the branches may blow in the wind, but the actual tree is not moving. And if I show you like, just look at this for a sec. Okay, let's find a good one. Yeah, let's look at these 3 waterfalls. This is a good one. Okay. So this shows you what shutter speed does to water when it's moving. Ignore these top numbers, not relevant at all. So this is where I told you to start, 1/125. This is like, I just want to like capture the water, kind of how my eye sees it. The water's kind of nice and crisp and sharp. As you slow down the shutter speed, this is slowing it down. Look what happens to the water. It becomes a lot more blurry and soft and silky. This adds when you start to combine this with everything that you guys already know about vanishing points and leading lines and framing, and you add these technical layers to it, then you really start going from what I would say making photos to taking photos. Again here, more blurry as the shutter speed slows down. So remember, slower shutter speeds show movement. Faster shutter speeds freeze it. And that's the reason this is a very simple photo taken at blue hour, has the vanishing point and everything else going on in it. But the primary thing here is that a slow shutter speed has been used to start to introduce some movement. Same here. Wings are moving at faster pace than the bird's head. Therefore, the wings are blurry, the bird's head is pretty sharp. This is a slow shutter speed. This is a bit aspirational showing you this photo, but it gives you the idea. I'll go over that one. But look at this one. So this is so this I took in London not that long ago. I actually just retook it. I was just there at Christmas. This is on an iPhone. I've rested my iPhone on the bridge, on Westminster Bridge in London. I've set my shutter speed for half a second. Half close. Sorry, this is not very sharp actually in this presentation, but the lights that you see here, which is a vanishing point. Notice how like Big Ben is on the rule of thirds and all those other things we know. But this is just a bus going past me while my shutter speed was open. I see a trail of light. If you look really carefully at this person who's waiting at the bus stop, you can see like their feet and stuff aren't quite sharp. That's because they're moving. They're not moving fast, but they're just like waiting for the bus. But they're moving because they're a human. They're not a statue. So everything in this picture that doesn't move in the half a second stays sharp. Everything that does move, I see that movement. And it's a very popular technique to try at night because it gives us this thing called traffic trails. We call it traffic trails in photography, but it's just seeing the lines of headlights or car lights, headlights or brake lights coming towards us. So generally, slower shutter speeds are really fun because they allow us to be, unlike fast shutter speeds, which can also be fun, which allow us to like freeze the hummingbird. Slower shutter speeds, when we choose to use them, and this is going to be a big, like what I'm going to show you today is really going to open up the box of creativity that you guys can do with your cameras. But these are the three main use cases: soft, silky water, traffic trails, motion blur. The key is, though, you need a tripod or you need something to rest your camera on. Because for any of these, you have to drop below my number. Who can remember what's my number? Where I can't go slower than without creating motion blur. Shout it out. Take yourself off mute.
1/50.
Good. So these are all taken way below 1/50. And you've got to rest your camera on something to do that. Can be a bench, can be a chair, can be a table, can be the road, doesn't matter. But you can't hand hold it because otherwise Big Ben would be really blurry. So look at this one. This hopefully helps drive this home. As I move through my pink arrow here, okay, is my shutter speed getting faster or slower? Let's ask Arlie. Hey, Arlie.
It's getting faster.
Good. Yeah, it is getting faster. So it's getting faster and faster and faster. Look at the difference in the duck. The duck's getting sharper and sharper and sharper and sharper. You compare this picture to this picture, totally different images. I think someone's got me on echo. Actually, Ali, I think you may have two. You may be in the Zoom twice. You may just need to mute the other one. I see you. Are people hearing me on echo? Are we good? You hear a little bit of an echo, everyone. Yeah, I think that's better. I think we fixed it. Okay, good. So as the shutter speed gets faster, we freeze the motion. As it's slower, we show the motion of the duck. But most of the time when you take a picture of a duck, you're not going to want it to look like that. You've got to make sure your shutter speed is fast enough to capture it. This is a crazy picture. Actually, this is a good photographer to look at. It's a friend of mine called Patrick Smith. He photographs in your neck of the woods, all the way up and down the west coast of the US, primarily really slow shutter speeds. This is a 5-minute exposure. So he's basically opened up his shutter for 1, 2, 3, 4, count all the way to 5 minutes. Look what's happened to the Pacific. In real life, this is like raging. It just looks like glass, like fog. The posts, your vanishing point here, haven't moved. So they stay really sharp. Look at the clouds. Look at the movement in the clouds. The only cheat here is that he's put in the sun. Because actually you would have seen the sun going down, down, down. You would have seen like a red streak of light. He's taken that out and he's just positioned it at the end. But this photo has lots of those ingredients that we talk into that go making a good photo. But added into it is the level of complexity that we can slow down the shutter speed. Look at this one, actually. You sort of see. Relatively fast shutter speed on the left, but not fast enough to freeze the Ferris wheel. 1/120th. This is 4 seconds. I'm not going to dwell on this too long because you can't do this on the iPhone unless you use some different things. But the key to show you is that's fast here and it's slow here. Look at the difference in the Ferris wheel. So this is where I'm going to stop on shutter speed. But I'm gonna annotate this a little bit and then I may get you wanted to take a picture of it. So let me use some different colored boxes. So everything in my pink here is considered a slow shutter speed. Can you guys just all please make sure you're on mute? Okay. So this is getting faster as I go down the table here. This is going from slow to fast. Slow shutter speeds are for specialty night, low light photographs to add a silky look to flowing water. Don't worry about this one. To add motion blur to the background, make things look like they're moving. Anything where you want to show movement. You're going to be somewhere in this territory. The everyday territory is of like, I'm going out, I just want to take some pictures. I'm going to a botanical garden, I just want to capture what I see. Is your shutter speed is going to sit between 1/50th and 1/500th of a second. That's considered not really a slow shutter speed, and it's also not really considered a fast shutter speed. It's just kind of in the middle. Breeze everyday sports in action. Someone still has got me on. Please just make sure you're all muted. Thank you. Just want to make sure we don't have the echo to disturb people. And then the faster shutter speeds are in here, in my green. Those are fast. To freeze extremely fast, up close subject motion. That's when you want to stop something dead. Make it look like it's frozen in time. Take a picture of this if you're not familiar with shutter speeds. This is a really good like template place to just keep on going back to and revise. Oh, you can even take my drawing off so it's a bit easier for you to read. Okay, anyone got any questions on that so far? So that's the theory. Question is,
why is 1/4000 the highest? Can you
good
not go
question.
for?
Good
You
question.
can.
Because most traditional cameras go up to 1/4000. But actually, you'll see in a minute on your iPhone, we can actually go all the way. It's a good question. We can actually go all the way to 1/10,000th of a second. But to be honest, most of the time, this lets in so little light, 1/10,000th of a second, that it's almost unusable. And unless you're photographing a bat in a cave and you want the bat to be totally frozen, it's unlikely that you would ever have to get to those faster shutter speeds. But 1/4000 is a good question. It's there because that's where most traditional cameras tap out. This in 98% of situations, this is the shutter speed range. Okay. Cool. Anyone else got any questions? Great. So here comes the fun part. Let's pick up our iPhones. Okay. And let's go to the Lightroom app that you've downloaded on your phone. Now, for some of you, it may ask you to sign in. That's the account you set up with Adobe. For lots of you, you're already in already. I'm just going to give it a minute. The reason what it's asking, if it does ask you to sign in, for those, it's asking for your email address and it's asking for the password that you created with Adobe. If you can't get in today, don't worry. You can go back, you can watch the recording, you can contact me privately. I just don't want to dwell on like each person's individual, perhaps technical difficulties because it just slows down the class. But I'm happy to help you if you can't get in, and you'll have the recording to go back and watch me talk through how we're going to use this. Okay. So once you're in the Lightroom app, hopefully you're in. Don't worry if you're not. I'm actually let me find myself. Where am I? Here I am. Okay. Down at the bottom, you should see some words. It's going to say device. Sorry, that's really blurry. Too much reflection today. It's going to say device, Lightroom community. There we go. I want you to hit on the word Lightroom in blue down at the bottom.
Mine says edits.
Okay, you're in the wrong place. So X out of that. Go back. And you want to get to the main page of Lightroom.
Adam, on Android, it says gallery.
Oh yeah, true.
Lightroom.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot a few of you are on Android. Yes, that's okay that it says gallery. No problem. That's where we want it to be. Since I can't remember, are you the only person on an Android, or I can't remember. Show of hands, anyone else? Is it just Nick as well? Okay, cool. Oh, and Ali. Okay, good. So we got a couple. So you're gonna hear me say words like, yeah, annoyingly, Android and iPhone just do things slightly different because they like you to stay in their ecosystem, but it's the same thing. And what you'll see here when I show you on my phone will essentially look the same. You just may see some words that are interchangeable. So if you stick up your hand, and when I'm
Ready to be a test, but I can't find where I should be because I still have edits here.
sorry, Neil, I didn't get the first part of what you said there.
I can't
Yeah,
find what you said
I'm
about.
in the
No,
same
no,
boat.
no, hold on, everyone, one at a time, one at a time. Neil, go first.
It seems like two of us only see edits and can't get to what you want.
Down at the bottom, you only see edits.
Well, I see device, edits, and community.
Fine.
Right.
Go to edits.
Okay.
Okay, it may be device. You may have to change, but you'll see in a minute. When you guys,
Edit, it says there's nothing here.
okay, that's okay. When you are either on Lightroom, as I'm on, or potentially edit, it could be device, Neil. We'll see in a minute. But
Okay.
what you want to be looking for, the key you want to be looking for is this blue camera.
Mhm.
It's going to be in one of them. It's going to be either on Lightroom or it's going to be on device.
Okay.
And you may
It's
have
under it.
sometimes
I
it
got
disappears. Watch this, everyone. Sometimes it disappears and you have to drag it. It's like a little bit fiddly, and then it appears down here. It's definitely there on all of your phones. Apple, Android, doesn't matter. You just got to get to the right place. Okay, again, I don't want to get too bogged down in each. I want you to just kind of watch first and then kind of go and play with it yourself, ideally. This is your Lightroom camera. If I click this, the blue camera, then it jumps to as if it's going to take a picture of me. Way too zoomed in, but let me zoom out. Okay, so jump. You guys see me? Oh dear. Hello? Everyone there? Yes? Yes? No? People, where were you? You all for it? Okay, good. So we want to make sure that you hit the camera and you're going to get to this. Okay, it just looks like your normal iPhone camera. It should have a grid on it, but it's going to have a whole load of extra things that look a little bit different. Again, I don't want us to get too hung up in everything the Lightroom app can do today. I just want to focus on shutter speed. So step number one is you're going to find that blue camera. I promise it's there on all of your phones. Maybe under device, maybe under edits, maybe under gallery. It's unfortunately, it's not just like a one-stop shop that I can tell you for each one of your phones. Even between iPhone 17 and iPhone 15 is different. Between iPhone 15 and iPhone 13 is different. But I'm giving you the right place to look. When you open the camera, you're going to see next to the button where you take a picture, it's going to say the word auto. I want you to click on that, and I want you to choose professional. Okay? Above that, a whole load of things are going to come up. Again, I don't want us to worry about any of them other than the one that says SEC. Click on it. That is your shutter speed. And when you click on it, you are going to have a little black circle, and you can take that circle and you can drag it. And at the top, you're going to see your shutter speed in yellow. You can see it there on mine. All I'm doing is I'm dragging this. And the further right you go, this is a really good way to remember how Lightroom works on an iPhone or an Android. Right equals bright. The further right you go, the slower you are making the shutter speed. The further left you go, the faster you are making the shutter speed. And again, it's gonna be different for all of you depending on which phone you've got. But like my phone goes from a range, which is pretty insane, of one, let me see if I can do this backwards, 1/10,000, and it goes slower, 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 slower. And it goes, and all I'm doing here is I'm just dragging this at the bottom, just dragging this slider, and it will go all the way to 1 second. That lets me do all those creative things. The slowing down of the water, the cars going past looking like traffic trails. But I can also, if my daughter is on a swing and I want to freeze her expression, and I've only got my phone with me, I can take it up to 1/1000, 1/2000, 1/3000, 1/4000. As long as you don't touch anything else there, your iPhone or Android will be in what's called shutter speed priority. That's to say that everything else will happen automatically. You don't have to worry about this thing called aperture. You don't have to worry about this thing called ISO. It's way too much to think about at the beginning. At the beginning, the best way to think about it's like building blocks with tech is we master shutter speed. We become total gurus in shutter speed. Once we feel confident of like, my dog is running in the park. I know what shutter speed to be. Oh, I'm by a waterfall. I know what shutter speed I want to make it look soft. Then we move on. But if you try to deal with all these things all at once, and you'll see in Lightroom, in the camera, there's a lot of different things that you can change. At the moment, we're just going to concentrate on that one that says SEC, seconds. Hopefully, the majority of you got there. If you didn't, go back in the recording, watch it, send me an email. I can help you one-on-one. Since.
On Android, it just says SS, which I'm assuming is shutter speed.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what, just for those that didn't.
Yeah. As I say, they don't ask me why, because you'd think they'd keep it uniform across it. But it's like the Android folks, they want you to stick with Android, and the Apple folks, they want you to stick with Apple. So they confuse it. It's kind of like if you've ever had a Canon or a Nikon camera, Nikon zooms one way, Canon zooms the other way. It's just to confuse you. Like all the buttons are on the other. It's kind of like a PC and a Mac. They want you to stay on one line. It makes my job much harder as a teacher because lots of people have everything flipped round. And we're never going to usually just have iPhone, just have Android, just have PC, just have Mac. So if you have any questions on it, as I say, please feel free to reach out to me, but hopefully that gets you there. So now what we have just discovered with basically 2 clicks of a button is that you can control how movement looks in your photographs. You are in total control. You got to play with it. Great place to start is like run a tap in your kitchen and just take pictures of it at 10 different shutter speeds. Look at the difference in how the water in the tap moves. Go outside at night, stand on the side of your road, don't stand in the middle of the road. Watch some cars go past, or you're like downtown Seattle or somewhere where it's relatively busy. Take 10 different pictures at different shutter speeds. Look how the cars look differently. Maybe there's a bird on a tree and you want to practice photographing the bird on the tree. Oh, one other thing actually I'll say just before I leave the Lightroom app and we jump into your photos, because now all your photos are going to make a lot more sense because we're going to be able to look at the shutter speeds. Again, this is going to be slightly different for those guys on an Android compared to those on the Apple. But I've got an Apple, I've got an iPhone. But on the right-hand side of where you take your picture, you're going to see, for those of you on an Apple, it's going to say W for most of you. It may say UW, it may say, if you tap on that, since you'll be able to tell me what it says on an Android, but it's like a picture of a lens. It may not even be there on an Android. I think it is though. For those of you on an iPhone, if you click it, it's going to go to UW, ultra wide. It's basically like me saying I'm going to take off one lens and I'm going to put on a different one. If you press it again, you're going to see T. Take off the ultra wide angle see the telephoto. Telephoto is more zoom. This allows us to stay within what's called optical zoom rather than veer into digital zoom, which is where we lose quality. Another thing is at the top, make sure it says DNG. For those of you on an Android, it's going to be slightly different, but you don't want it. What does it say since at the top? DNG, perfect. So DNG means digital negative. That is a raw photo. Purely by doing that and making sure that's on, forget about anything else, you're quadrupling the size of the photo you take, which means you're seeing more dynamic range, more contrast, more color, more clarity, all the things I talked about before. Ultimately, more light. So make sure that's on as well. Natalie, did you get it on yours? Perfect. Okay, good. Okay. So this is going to be something where so many people come to me now and they're like, I don't have my big camera with me. I don't have my normal camera with me. I'm wandering around and I just couldn't get the picture. This is one way for us to be able to unlock making your iPhone or Android more like a traditional camera, which is really exciting because suddenly we can do all this stuff that we've never been able to do on an iPhone or an Android. Okay. Anyone got any? Lucy, you're on mute. You just have to take yourself off mute for a sec.
I have a question. So, because my iPhone is pretty old, 11, but so I'm thinking of getting a new one. Like, how wide is the wide angle and how
Good question. So again, there's different iPhones. I'm not going to go too far down the rabbit hole, but most of the newer iPhones and the newer Androids, iPhones, they go to 14 millimeters wide, which is very wide, great for landscapes. And depending on which one you get, the telephoto lens can be the equivalent of about an 120 millimeter lens, which is really big, which is like me suddenly sticking and that's only going to get bigger, better and better and better as the new phones come out. We're already halfway through the iPhone 17 cycle. Apple's, for those of you with Apple, the new phones come out every September. So you're almost, not quite halfway, but you're 3-4 months into the iPhone cycle. But yeah, Lucy, you will notice an enormous difference going from 11 to 17. If you've got a 15 or 16, you won't notice so much of a difference.
So I should wait for the newest one.
It depends how, I mean, I don't know, if your battery's only lasting 4 hours and then it's dying and you're like, I need a new phone, then people always say, well, I can wait for the next one and I can wait for the next one. Well, yeah, there'll always be a new one. And the problem is they always get better and better. But the truth is, if you've got an iPhone 17 now, you'd be happy for the next 5 years. 5-6 years. Like, you shouldn't have to, if you've got an iPhone 15, 16, you don't really need the iPhone 17. It's a nice bonus, but you could probably wait till iPhone 19 comes out until you need to upgrade. Lots of people get the 15 and the 16 and the 17. That's great, but it's not necessarily necessary. But the key takeaway of this whole first part of the class was I wanted to make sure we were all leveled up on understanding shutter speed. And secondly, I wanted to show you on your phones how you can change it. And I'm going to get you to play with that. Okay, anyone else got any questions? Sue, hey.
It's not a question. I just want to make a comment. I wish I had known all of this before the movement instructions because I was having the hardest time, and this just makes it a way different exercise.
Well, I that's kind of intentional because I wanted you to think about just more the conceptual of movement and seeing movement before adding the technical. And what you're going to see now is when I show, I'm going to present them now actually. When I show you guys your pictures, what we're going to be able to see is we're going to see what the iPhone or Android or your camera defaulted to as the default shutter speed, which you're going to see, like this actually is not, this is not an iPhone picture, but here, so I want you to keep your eyes peeled on this. Can everyone see the waterfall, by the way, this lovely picture? So we're gonna talk about the picture, we're going to talk about the light, but we're also going to keep a little bit of attention now to this. So this is a great picture. Like, the shutter speed is sitting right in my comfort zone of when I said you're trying to do nothing special. It's 1/400, it's right here. So it's kind of the water sees like we saw it there. Now I could have said, I want to up the shutter speed to like 1/2000 and tried taking this picture. You would have seen every little globule of water, every little speck. I could have gone the other way. There's no rules here. The whole point of photography is to have fun and to experiment. Please, I think Ali, it may be you who needs to mute us, please. Um, I could take this to 1 second, and this waterfall just ends up looking like glass. But I still see the rainbow. In fact, the rainbow would be even more bright because I'd be seeing more light and more color. There's no one way, you'll soon learn, there's no one way to take the perfect photo. My job is to give you the tools and the skills and let you experiment and decide what you like the best. This is by the way, compositionally, this is a great shot. It comes back to our filling the frame from our last lesson. You're not showing me everything that's over here and over here. Beautiful light falling on the waterfall. You can kind of start to see if I zoom in here, that if you'd used a really fast shutter speed, you really would have seen these like patterns of water. You're starting to see them. The shutter speed's not quite fast enough. But yeah, 1/400th of a second. Excellent composition. Who took this?
I did. Carrie.
Harry, where were you?
Palouse Falls in April. So yeah, there's a lot of runoff.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Lovely picture. Well, the good news is April is not too far away, so you can go back here and try it again with some different shutter speeds, which will be fun.
I will.
But really good, really nice shot. Well done for filling the frame. I like the inclusion of the foliage at the front to frame it. There's actually, if I really pick this apart, there's actually a bit of an S running through here, taking you up to the waterfall in terms of a leading line. But nicely done, Carrie. Excellent. Let's look at this one. Okay, so you're going to see, so this was taken on an iPhone 12. Now, whoever took it had probably no idea what the shutter speed was doing. But now we know. So again, this is a classic movement picture. The iPhone has tried to get the exposure correct. It's done a pretty good job. You can see that the water is pretty frozen. Now I could have gone faster and seen it even more frozen. I think on a picture like this, I like that you've shown the whole fountain. It's going to be, but I'd be very tempted to only show a portion of it. Oops, I didn't mean to tell. But maybe only show, I don't know, like this, but with a fast shutter speed, or like down here where like there's some drama and some greenery, but have the water really, really sharp, and then you're creating a little bit more of an abstract frame. Remember, we don't necessarily just want to be documentarians. We don't want to be like, oh, this is a cool fountain. I'm taking a picture of the fountain. We want to try and look at this thing as a 360-degree object that we can move around and we can think about where is the optimal place for us to take this picture. Watch out as well with my GCA hat on for the edges of the frame. GCA would probably ding you for including half a tree, cut in half. That's a minor comment. I just know how some GCA judges think and like what they're asked to do. But nice capture, very good. Whose is this? Anyone here today? No? Oh, nice capture, whoever it was. You can listen on the recording. Look at this one. This one looked great. Really good. Let's look at the shutter speed. Get it up. So really good capture on a camera, 1/500th of a second. That's a relatively fast shutter speed. The bird is really frozen. Look, even how the ripples of the water, you're starting to see the ripples of the water, not necessarily how our eyes see them. That's because of the fast shutter speed. Whose is this, please?
It's mine again. But Adam, I have a question on this one.
Yeah, go for it.
You know, it's hard. I kind of tend to do 1/500th for wildlife, just kind of that's my camera setting.
Yeah.
But then my ISO is real high.
Yeah, it has to go way up. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
there's some ways around that. Well, in this, what time of day did you take this? Let's have a look.
Morning.
Yeah, so you're in morning light, so it's with this particular lens that you have, Kerry, The app, and again, I don't want to go too far into the rabbit hole of this because some people won't know what we're talking about here. But your F number can only go down to a certain level as you zoom out. That leaves you a little bit restricted in terms of where you can keep your ISO. One thing I would say is don't worry so much. Lots of people are scared of the ISO, which is true because it creates this thing called noise. But I would rather you get a sharp picture with the correct shutter speed and increase the ISO to where you need to get it. Because in future classes, and I can show you how to do it, it's very easy to remove the noise on the computer.
Thank you.
Whereas you can't, if you've got this bird blurry, there's no way to bring it back. You can't get it sharp. And it's one other thing for those of you, I know there's a couple of people here who are using cameras. I'll just tell you a little trick here when it comes to shutter speed. So Kerry's got this like zoom lens here, kind of like how we got on our iPhone or our Androids, but hers zooms a long way to this number called 500 millimeters. There is a rule in photography, for those of you who have big lenses, that says that the shutter speed should always be greater than 1 over the focal length. Now that seems really complicated, but basically what it means is when you zoom your camera out, your focal length gets bigger. In this case, Kerry's all the way at 500 millimeters. We get more prone to getting camera shake. The longer this is, it's like looking through a pair of binoculars and moving your hand, the movement's gonna feel like it's much more than it actually is. And we don't want to see that camera shake. So Kerry, you're right on the cusp here. But I would, when you are all the way zoomed out with this lens, I would not want your shutter speed going any lower than 1 over 500. Otherwise, you're going to see the movement of your hand, even if you were taking a picture of a tree that's not moving. Okay?
Thank you.
Hopefully that helps. Nice. Let's look at this guy. Really interesting. So look what the iPhone did here. The iPhone went to a really fast shutter speed. Not because we were in control of it, just because it was trying to get the light. It's a lovely storytelling picture, this one. I even like how the man's shoes and the dog are like a similar color. It kind of ties everything in. Well done for putting the man and the dog in the bottom third of the frame. The one thing I would say about this one, I think movement has been captured nicely. I think we could improve on it now with our shutter speeds. I don't think you need to be this fast. That's put a lot of camp pressure on your camera. Very fast shutter speeds don't let in much light. I also maybe, if I could have done, this is hard to see in the moment, but I probably would have taken one step to my left and taken this picture. Reason being is that would have got rid of that. That would have taken that out of the picture. Yeah. And I think this is a cleaner picture if it's just the person and the dog kind of wandering down to the lake. That's a little bit distracting, and that's just a case of us shifting our perspective. Whose is this one?
Mine, Natalie.
Natalie. Nice job, Natalie. Really good.
Thanks.
But obviously, Natalie, you weren't changing your shutter speed when you took it.
No.
Your iPhone was doing it for you. So now we're going to kind of explore how when we change it, how we can create different things.
So can I ask a question about that one? Would you have cut off the top part?
Good question. I was thinking that. I think it kind of frames it and grounds it. I think he potentially there. I think if I would have taken it without that top bit, I would have gone from a lower perspective. I would have dropped myself a little bit. I think in this instance, it feels a little bit just like he's floating away into the water. I actually think that including that top part somewhat grounds it and helps bring the foreground and background together. Actually, if you would have gone to a lower perspective as well, Natalie, this distance would have decreased. The foreground and the background would have felt like they were talking to each other a bit more. Good question, Neil. Let's look at this one. Okay. Not necessarily a movement picture, but it's a lovely picture. Great light, great kind of, this is backlighting. Interestingly, look what the iPhone decided to do with the shutter speed. It went as if it was taking a picture of a hummingbird, but nothing's moving in this picture. The reason it did that was because it was really bright. The sun, like the light was streaming into the camera, so it compensated. We're going very, very fast shutter speed. I mean, if this was taken on a camera and this was someone who was a pretty intermediate person, I'd be telling them the camera settings were all wrong, which they are. But the iPhone doesn't care. The iPhone's or an Android, it's indiscriminatory. It just wants to get you a picture how you see it. And the result here is great. But I just like my students to have a bit more control. And this is a beautiful. The only thing I'm not sure about this picture, and this is maybe me being particular, so I'm just not sure about this grate here. Like, I would have been interested if the photographer would have gone and stood on the grate. That would have eliminated it. Because this is the drama, right? It's all out here. Even though the light is hitting this very nice, and this, by the way, would look very good as a black and white picture because your composition is very strong. I'd be interested to see what that looked like without it. I'd also be, when you're shooting into the sun like this, you can sometimes get, and hopefully this translates through zoom here, can you see how like, it kind of looks a bit weird in the trees there? That's a sun flare or a sunburst. When you're shooting into the sun, try and cup your hand around your lens like this. It's the same as for those of you who've got lenses or cameras. It's like putting on a lens hood. And that eliminates that flare there. Whose is this? Really good. Anyone? Since this is yours? No? I saw your mouth moving. Okay, there's someone here on the recording. Look at this one. Beautiful picture. I love these lenticular clouds. Lovely landscape. Watch the edges of your frame here. Look at the person and the roof of the cars. Those didn't need to be in this picture. Easily avoidable by just you moving. I can kind of crop them out. I really like the positioning on the bottom right of the mountain. You always, by the way, when you're shooting over water, you guys have this a lot because you live in a place where there's lots of water, is how many of you have got a polarized pair of sunglasses? Put your hand up if you even know what I'm talking about. When you go and buy sunglasses and they say, oh yeah, buy the polarized lenses instead of the normal ones, okay? So when you put polarized lenses on your glasses, they cut out something called polarized light. They basically cut out glare. The camera has a very hard time seeing through polarized light. And that's why the mountain here looks a little bit hazy. It's not terrible, but it's just a tad hazy. And polarized light in a camera, one of the many things that emphasizes polarized light or makes it worse is when you're shooting over a body of water. It's a whole nother topic of conversation. I'm not going to go into too much now. But just if ever you guys are taking pictures across the water and you wonder why your pictures are looking a little bit hazy and not sharp at the back, it's because of this thing called polarizing light. You can buy these things that you can clip onto your iPhones or Androids that help get rid of that. Kind of like giving your phone or your camera a pair of sunglasses. Something to just kind of put to the side, but to think about. Is this a movement picture? Yeah, I suppose the clouds are moving. I don't know if it's a great picture. I don't know if it's a movement picture. I'd also probably actually take out some of the top. I think I'd bring it down a bit more like that. Lovely picture though. I love the clouds. And it just shows this is taken on an iPhone 12. Look at the shutter speed though, completely wrong. That's making out as if the cloud was about, I don't know, is that Mount Rainier? Or I don't know how to pronounce it. That's Mount Rainier. Is it Rainier or Rainer?
Rainier.
Rainier. Is it a dormant volcano? Yeah. So this is setting the shutter speed as if the volcano is about to erupt, which it's not. So we don't, and again, the iPhone didn't know that, but it's set to a fast shutter speed because it was very bright. We're going to take control of that. Nice shot.
What would you set it to?
For a landscape like this, probably about somewhere between 1/125 and 150 because nothing's really moving. It's buildings, and this is a still fast shutter speed. This is fast enough to capture most movement that happens. Now, if there were two pelicans flying through the sky and I wanted to capture them, well, then I need to speed up the shutter speed. But landscape territory, since I'd be around there. Because The point is we don't want to put too much stress on our camera. And when you use a really fast shutter speed or a really slow shutter speed, especially when you don't need it, it's going to make your picture either too bright or too dark, and it's going to make your camera have to work really hard to try to correct that. Again, you were in no control when you took this picture, but you will be from today. And I want you to play with that. But generally, landscape somewhere in that range. Now look at this one. This is a great shot. For me, this is a really good movement picture. Look at the shutter speed. Again, whoever took this had no idea that they were doing this. It's just a lucky side effect that you got it. But the shutter speed, I know they're kind of small to see. I'll write them down. It's basically 1/7,000. That's extremely fast. Unlike when I showed you Usain Bolt and his arms and his hands were blurred and the face was sharp, this kid, the whole thing is sharp. The motion has been completely frozen. Faster shutter speed, freeze motion. Whoever took this, well done for getting down to the level of the kid, looking into their eyes rather than taking it from above. This is excellent. Really good.
So that's actually was cheating. That was my girlfriend takes all these pictures of her grandkids, and she just uses live, and she does just amazing captures of their motion. It's really
Well,
interesting.
live isn't actually going to capture the motion. Live is just taking a number of pictures and hoping to.
Right, but then she captures the motion because she can pick out the one that's the frame that works.
Well, I'll
the
say,
best.
Natalie, you're going to be even better than your friend now because she's depending on luck.
Yeah.
You're going to depend on skill and intentionality. So you could be sitting next to her taking this exact same picture. Her iPhone, she could have taken this picture 1 second later and the shutter speed could have gone to 1/200 and the kid would have been blurry. And she just picks out the best one. You'd be like, I'm at the beach. I want to take a picture of this kid running. I know I'm going to set my shutter speed at 1/500 or faster, depending on how fast they're running. And then you're going to get a 10 out of 10 success rate. This is good. This is the opposite. Look at this one. I think this is Venice. This is a slow shutter speed. 1/8. This essentially, we are seeing the movement of the photographer's hand coming down like this. We've mentioned this as a group before, this ICM, intentional camera movement. Sometimes this is a great way that slow shutter speed. Look how much more color we're seeing here and how much more light as well. Now, we could have taken this picture and put it on a tripod and you would have seen every reflection. And I think it's Venice, correct me if I'm wrong, whoever took it. But the buildings would have looked perfect. Maybe it's not Venice, somewhere European, I think. Who took this picture? Not here? Okay. But the key is that the slower shutter speed has allowed the photographer to move their hand. And what we're seeing there is the motion of their hand over 1/8 of a second period. Nice job.
Actually, it was the movement of the boat.
Oh, you're on a boat. Okay, even that makes sense. Sorry, who said that? Because I can't see you. Shout out your name.
Patricia.
Oh, hey, Patricia.
PC.
So Patricia's on a boat, right? So the boat's going up and down, up and down, up and down. So that makes sense. So Patricia, what you could have done here, knowing what we now know, is if you wanted a sharp picture of this building, whenever we think about movement in photography, we're thinking about what's the subject doing and what are we doing. In this case, the subject is relatively still. You're bobbing up and down. You have to speed up the shutter speed to compensate for the fact you're moving. Good one to practice if any of you go on an aeroplane over the next couple of weeks. You're taking a picture out of an aeroplane window. If you want the landscape below you to look sharp, you have to use a fast shutter speed because you're traveling at 200, 300 miles an hour. It doesn't feel like you are on the airplane, but you are. Same on a boat. So yeah, this is Patricia's up and down. Patricia, where were you? Was I wrong? Is this Venice?
Budapest.
Budapest. Oh, I was close. Not too far away. On the right side of the Atlantic. It looked like some type of like Baltic state. It could have been Prague as well. But really, really nice shot. But hopefully now, Patricia, you understand why that came out like that. And we could have emphasized that, or we could have gone to a faster shutter speed. Really good. I really like this one. Really good storytelling picture. I'd probably prefer it if the figure on the left wasn't there. I just feel like that these kind of shadowy figures, I really want to get taken to just these like two kids on the bike. Oops, I think that that other person maybe takes your attention away. Let me try and crop it properly. Hold on. Really good movement picture. I think I would have cropped it like that though, as I took it. Or I would have put them on the other side of the frame. I think that's a cleaner picture than this, where I feel like I'm fighting between the kids and the shadowy figure. Or I would have just done the shadowy figure. Could have gone this way. Could have easily just done this person. Even maybe this way. Like, I don't know, something like that. Really abstract. I like the fact that you can't see the person, you can't see the dog. It's interesting. Good move. Look at the shutter here. It went insane. It was so bright. It went to 1/19,000th of a second. Lightroom doesn't let you get up there, but but Apple does. And that's why this person looks so dark, because the shutter speed is so quick that it's trying to get, because you're shooting into the light. The light's not coming from behind you. Let's look at this next one. Here's a great example. Nice job whoever took this one. I think this is Kerry's again. I can tell from the settings, from the lens. Kerry's gone to a slow shutter speed here. Look what it's done to the water. I think, Kerry, you could have gone even slower. Really seen it. But it's a totally personal choice. One thing when you're doing the waterfalls, you guys live near a lot of water and waterfalls. Watch out for your water going too bright like this. See how it's going white here? That just means that the shutter speed is too slow for the movement of the water. If you see that whiteness, you just want to speed up your shutter speed a little bit more so you see the definition in the water. You want to try to avoid areas that are a little bit overexposed. Kerry did a good job here, but just a pointer for the rest of the crowd. And this is 1/3 of a second. Let all the movement flow past it. Really good. Look at this one. This was a really fun one for movement. Excellent shot. Very good crop. Be careful whoever took this. Just one thing I would say is I don't know if you're cropping on your phone, on the computer, but on both you have the option to lock the aspect ratio. This has kind of become more of a panoramic, like a long skinny picture, which is okay. But if ever you were going to go and print it or do something with it, it becomes a bit tricky. Try and keep the aspect ratio locked. Again, I would probably crop out this bit at the bottom, but I love the layering here. The light is great. Really feels like movement. Looks like these people are standing in line to get into some type of museum. And that layering continues all the way through the frame. We've talked about repetitive horizontal or vertical lines. I actually showed you that artist Gursky a while ago. You can look him up if you don't remember. This almost looks like a Gursky photo. He loves using layering to take you through the frame. It's a really good capture. It's a lot to look at. It's a bit of like a Where's Waldo, but it's really interesting. Nice shot. Look at this one. This is excellent. This one, I'm not sure who sent me this one. Just make sure if you can, try and send it to me with all the data included, because then we can see the shutter speed. But this, I love the composition of the vanishing point, taking us out to this wave crashing against the seawall right on the nodal point. Do I need these boats here? Nah, maybe, maybe not. Maybe if I took one step to my left and retook the picture, it'd be interesting to see how it came out. But this one, if we were in control of the shutter speed, what do we think? If I want to show all the water, Lucy, do I need it to go fast or slow? I want to see like every speck of this massive wave hitting the wall.
Faster.
You got it. Good. So this would be like if you went somewhere like this and played with shutter speeds and took 10, 20, 30 pictures at different shutter speeds, it's going to make the easiest way that this makes sense to everyone is by practice. You shoot, you change the shutter speeds, the beauty of digital is the feedback is instantaneous. You see what it looks like, you change it, take another one, you change it, take another one. A lot of it, sometimes you're going to be restricted by the light, but the light is fantastic and that it's coming from behind the photographer, illuminating the seawall, the wave. Really good capture. Whose was this, please? Anyone here? No? Okay. Yeah, we've got quite a big group on this class, so sometimes some people can't attend. Look at this one. This one's great. Really good storytelling picture. 1/350th of a second. That's why the snow is not perfectly sharp. It's good enough. It's pretty good. But if I want to be in perfect control of how this like plow and mow looks, you can see down here, you can see it's not quite sharp. That's because it's being pushed. And the shutter speed is not quite fast enough to freeze it. It's a great picture though. Really good storytelling picture. Watch out for your horizons being straight. They're pretty close, but just straighten it up a little bit there. Again, I'd be tempted on this picture, I think, to get rid of some of the garage or wall of the building structure there. I don't think that needs to be there. It's a really good storytelling picture and very good interpretation of movement. Whose was this one?
It's my girlfriend again.
Oh, your girlfriend.
I went through my photo roll.
Your girlfriend is hijacking our group.
Sorry. When I went through my photo roll, it just felt like she really captured well her situation.
This is a great picture, but look at the shutter speed and know that we could have gone faster. Mm-hmm. Look at this one.
Oh, fun.
Oh, wow.
This one's great. Look at our light here, really good. Our composition, really good. There's our S-curve. If I'm being really picky, I'd say arguably the person is a little bit too much in the middle of the frame. That's me being really picky. Look at the shutter speed that the iPhone did here, 1/430th. That's fast. Even though I told you 1/500 and above is faster, still 1/125, 1/250 is still a fast shutter speed. I would probably just take out some of the trees at the top there. I don't think they're needed. Take me straight into the person jumping. Really nicely frozen. Again, this was a little bit more by luck than by judgment because you weren't controlling the shutter speed. You could have taken this 10 times and 5 would have been good, 5 would have been bad. But what's really encouraging here is a really nice job on seeing the S-curve, including this tree here as a frame, identifying where the good light was coming from. Really good. Someone here? By the way, as I get to your pictures, feel free, if it is your picture, to unmute yourself, and then you can tell us about it, or I can ask you a question. Look at this one. It's great for fast shutter speeds are very, very effective at capturing ripples and reflections. They show them more than our eye sees. It's a really fun exercise just to go to like a pond or a body of water and shoot the reflections using really fast shutter speeds. This was getting up to that territory, but I'm talking about like 1/2000, 1/4000. Watch what happens to all the reflections. You're going to see more pattern, see more line, see more shape than our eye can see. This one, again, I think I probably would have, I kind of like the reflection. I would have put the duck off to the right. I don't have room to do it. So it has room to grow into the frame. But a really nice shot. But this one's on an Android. This one's on a Samsung. Now this one's really interesting for us to look at. Because if we look carefully, this does exactly what the pictures that I showed you in the presentation do. Look at the difference in the wings on some of them and the head. It's a great capture. Arguably, I'd probably spin it and I don't have enough room to do it here, but I'd probably make it a landscape picture more than probably a portrait picture. I'd probably go to there. But the wings are a little bit blurry on some of the seagulls, just because the shutter speed is too slow. Now we know and now we understand. I'd take this same picture and I'd have the shutter speed at about 1,000. All these guys are going to be perfectly sharp. One other thing to think about when you think about movement, and I think I mentioned this to you in the last class, but I'll say again, if my pen here was the seagulls and they're moving at 10 miles an hour, if they move across my frame like they are in this picture, you need a far faster shutter speed to capture them than if they moved towards you. Even if they're moving my pen's moving at the same speed here, but it's staying in and in and in the frame. Same speed going across, it's in and out in a second. So always lateral movement like this, you need a faster shutter speed to capture them front to back. Really good capture though, but now we're going to control the shutter speed. Same with these guys. Great lighting, little bit overexposed on the back of the left-hand dog. iPhone defaulted to fast shutter speed. We were lucky here because it was really bright. That's why the dogs are frozen. Look at starting to see those little individual globules. It's a bit blurry on the screen, but the individual globules of water I was talking about. Dogs in the bottom third, ocean in the top 2/3. Great capture. Look at this one.
Wow.
This one's really creative. This one's intentional camera movement. So this one is done in camera, I think. But the key, and we're not here yet as a group, but nice job whoever took this, is that 1/8 a slow shutter speed allowed us to move our lens and our hand in a way that created this really interesting blur. And from a teaching, this is a great shot, really nice job whoever took this. From a teaching perspective, it is interesting to look at the dog and like the lady's legs and to actually see that none of them are sharp. Now that could be intentional. That provides some like ethereal, magical, mystical feel to this photo. But I need you to understand why they're not sharp. And they're not sharp because the shutter speed was intentionally, in this case, too slow to freeze their motion. Good picture. Look at this one. Lovely color. Well done for getting down low and shooting up here. These almost don't look real. The colors are crazy. It just shows on an iPhone 13. This one would look really good black and white. Change it black and white because the light and the composition is really good. Very fast shutter speed the iPhone went to. Didn't really need it, but a nice byproduct was that everything is razor sharp. I love the lighting here. Maybe I would have been tempted to hone in on maybe one or two of the plants as well, do some more detailed scenes of this landscape. Watch out for the edges of your frame again on the top left here. I'd probably cut that out. Whose is this, please? Sue, is it you?
Oh, it's mine, Lori.
Oh, hey, Laurie, I haven't even seen you here today. That's because A, you're John, and B, you don't have your webcam, and you don't have your webcam on. Sorry, I haven't called on you today. You just popped
No
up.
problem.
It's probably because you don't have your webcam on, so it puts you all the way down to my Zoom call. Where are you, Laurie, when you took this?
I'm actually next to our house.
Beautiful. So good place for you to go and practice, especially as these things blow in the wind. Nice place to practice shutter speed. Look at this guy. So this one's interesting because this one you're really close, but the shutter speed is not fast enough here. You're seeing a little bit of motion blur in the pores and in the face. Now again, the iPhone did this automatically. It's a great capture. It's a great picture. I want you to take this one step further though, and I want you to think, I'm photographing my dog. He or she is running. I need to go up to a faster shutter speed. Start going into the 1/1000s, 1/2000 territory. The dog's going to be super sharp. Really good capture though. Well done for getting down low. Placement of the dog, lighting, everything great. And this is why I wanted to show you guys how to change shutter speed today, because this is a perfect example of when you're in automatic on your phones, you hit it a technical ceiling.
So that was me. And can you hear me?
Yeah, hey, Sue.
Yeah, that was me. And that's my comment. I wish I had known how to control shutter speed.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just couldn't do it.
Well, now you know. Now you know.
Yeah.
Look at this one. This one's almost the opposite. This one's this one's showing movement. Can't see the shutter speed here. I'd probably crop out a little bit, but this is at the top. Really interesting and often showing motion can imbue a frame with more kind of dynamism and energy and make it feel like it's moving more. This is very good. Really good. But this one. This one, I think, perhaps lacks a focal point. I'd probably be thinking, do I want attention to go to Ruby's the grill? Do I want it going down the boardwalk? If I want it going down the boardwalk, I'm going to move myself. And like, again, I can't really recreate this, but there's a vanishing point clearly going down the boardwalk there. I'd probably be patient and wait for all these people to be in the right place, which is almost impossible. Watch the edges of your frame again. Look at the guy with the backpack. GCA would hate that. I'd be interested in going landscape instead of portrait. There's tons of things you could have done with this view. But it's a good one for movement. And look at how 1/2500th of a second, everyone's feet is totally frozen. Everyone looks like they're stopped. They look like they're playing statues. This one's really good. Excellent picture. Taken on an iPhone 7. It shows you that, look at that. If I make it, it's perfect. If you can find the good light and you can find good composition and you know how to use your brain, I would argue that I could give any of you iPhone 1s and you take a good picture. Really, this looks almost like Hawaii or somewhere. Enlighten me if you took this.
It was me, and I took it in Ireland, believe it or not, and those clouds were literally flowing down the mountain.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You see this in San Francisco a lot in the Bay Area. You see this fog like cascading down the mountains. Makes again, fog, clouds, great for practicing shutter speeds. Excellent. Very nice shot, Sue. Good. Look at this person. Nice, great storytelling picture. Shutter speed, fast enough where the person is frozen. Good light. Very well put together photograph. You're not showing me too much. You've got down low, like seeing more. You could have got down even lower, potentially. Turn your phone upside down. Remember that trick. But a really, really good capture and definitely getting motion. Same with here. A lot of you photograph people walking. This one I would photograph. I would get rid of the top a little bit. I'd probably offset the guy a little bit off to the right. So we're walking into the frame with him. You have this linear horizontal lines going on again, really good. Shutter speed defaulted to 1/100 here. This kid wasn't moving that fast, but I bet if I zoom in on him, bits of his arms are going to be blurry. There we go.
So Adam, is it in your phone? Is it usually the light that the phone camera is
Purely on
making
light.
the decision for the shutter speed?
100%. It's always
Okay.
the light, yeah. So if it's really bright, we've seen the shutter speed goes really fast. If you're photographing like early morning light, like late afternoon, the shutter speed is going to default to slower.
Okay.
Look at this one for you. By the way, I think I said this to you as a group before, you guys are producing excellent pictures. This is a very impressive group of photographers. You're all very active. You're all sending me pictures. You're all asking me questions, which is, hey, hopefully means I'm doing my job properly because you're all excited and encouraged to go and take pictures. But the quality of what you are taking as a group is excellent, which is why I really want to start layering some technical stuff onto this group's knowledge, because I think when we start layering that, we're really going to go stratospheric to the next level. This is great. Really good. Again, you're seeing the motion here, much like the motion we saw on Pamela's one when she was on a boat. This, you're just seeing the motion because you're on a highway and the car's going 70 miles an hour. And the shutter speed is not set fast enough for the 70 miles an hour. So you see in motion through this picture. Excellent vanishing points, composition, tons of good stuff that's going on here. But really nice job. Whose was this one? Taken on an iPhone 14. Okay, look at this one. I put the road ones together. This is, I mean, just a beautiful picture in terms of landscape and lighting. Great perspective. If I'm being picky, I probably would have waited for this car to go a little bit further down the road. I would have liked it down there. I think that would have been better. This taken on a Samsung. Fast shutter speed because it was bright. Everything frozen. Really good. Like, if you can find the good light, which is a big part of the challenge in photography, then straight away you're going to make your photos feel more alive because you're seeing more dynamic range, more color, more clarity, more contrast. Good fountain shot again, very similar to the first one we saw, showing the whole fountain. Interesting, the shutter speed on this one was 1/4000th of a second. Even that wasn't fast enough to completely freeze the fountain. That's why I want you to experiment. These kids are great, although look at the shutter speed. I'm being hypercritical here. It's like really nicely taken. It's nicely edited. But if I was blowing this up on my wall and these were my kids, and I was a photographer, no one else would notice this. But I can see that the kids aren't quite sharp. I can see a little bit of movement in their faces. The shutter speed is not quite fast enough for the fact that they're like hanging off their dad here about to get thrown in the pool. It's a great picture, great storytelling picture.
Adam,
Yeah, hey.
I have a question.
Hey. Oh, hey, Pat. Yeah,
Isn't
sorry, I
there
didn't see you out there. Go for it.
isn't there a way to trick the camera into thinking that it's darker than it is by aiming and holding down the shutter button? How do you do
Yes,
that?
to an extent, and also you can aim and hold down the focus button, the square that you can tap. So remember that trick I taught you where you 1, 2, 3 tap on the subject? That asks the camera to just make the decision on what it does with everything else based on like the light where these kids are. You hold and tap 1, 2, 3. But even then, it still has no idea if these kids are moving or if they're lying sunbathing on the side of the swimming pool. You have to make that decision. You have to change the shutter speed. And that comes with practice and a level of learning. Good question, though, and a great picture. Look at this one. Really impressive. I would love for the person who took this to go back and retake this with a faster shutter speed. But then at the same time, you see the motion of the birds, which is kind of nice. There's not one perfect. You could have taken this with a much slower shutter speed, and all the birds would have just looked like a blur of motion. This was 1/500th of a second. I think this is Kerry's again. I can tell because it's this lens. Really nice job, though. Really good. Look at this one. This one's great. Good capture. Interesting exercise in looking at shutter speed. We're almost done, guys. If you can stick with me for a few minutes. Is 1/60th of a second. The ball and the hand are not sharp because they're moving much faster than down here, which is perfectly sharp. This again would have been a fun one. You get the person to throw the basketball in 3, 4, 5 times. Change the shutter speed. This one's kind of fun. Good perspective. Looks like some type of kids race going into the water. Nice fast shutter speed. Good crisp capture. And watch out for I want you guys to watch out, really watch out for the edges of your frame for like chopping people in half and chopping trees in half. It's hard to do at the time because there's so much else going on. But I want you to take a breath, slow down, just take half a second and think about, I'm going to check the edges of my frame. This one's beautiful. Lovely abstract image. I can't even tell what it is. I think it's looking through some type of glass.
It's looking through a water fountain.
Oh, water fountain. Great. Yeah, really.
Well, it's sort of a screen of water. I'm the one who took the first one. I couldn't tell you the black one.
Oh, yeah. Cool. So again, here, Neil's done a really nice job of creating. I think even here, I wonder if I cropped it out and I kind of created more of I kind of see an S here that's like flowing through. But the level of abstraction here is good. The shutter speed was 1/460th, like in the middle, not too fast, not too slow. Again, would have been interesting to go either way here and to see what that did. Just in the instance of time, I'm going to just cobble a couple of these together. Both here, good pictures. Look at the hand of the kid, look at the tail of the dog. Different things moving at different speeds. We've got to get the shutter speed correct for both of them. Both of these should have had a slightly faster shutter speed, ideally. Look at these two. In fact, I should have put this kid here as well. This kid here, pretty darn good. Face not perfectly sharp. Shutter speed just needs to be a bit quicker. It's 1/800, needs to be faster. Look at these two. Beautiful pictures of stormy big oceans. The one on the left is a very fast shutter speed. The one on the right, because it was much darker when they took the picture, is a much slower shutter speed. And I think the original of this, this has a lovely light quality to it. And the water was starting. I'd love to know what time this was taken if whoever it is here. Let's have a look.
It was taken at night.
There we go. That's why the shutter speed slowed down. Because it had no choice. It had to let in more light. So really good. Nice frozen ducks, kind of like my example I showed in my slide. It's about the perfect shutter speed to freeze the ducks. 1/230, 1/300, 1/400. Interesting capture. And then this is the last one. When this one, again, shutter speed plays a role, but on this one, I probably would have got down lower to the bank. I feel like it's a little bit wonky. And I can't really recreate it, but I would have probably focused on I would have just crouched out a little bit here and really focused on this flowing water running up to this very interesting tree that has been chopped down. But overall, everyone, really, really good. Really good. And I tell people if I think it's bad, but I think you guys are doing a great job as a group. Here's your homework, okay? And I think we have another class coming up. Was this? Oh,
One more.
got one more. Yeah, that's what I thought. So I'm going to actually give you two themes to work around. Okay. One is I almost just want you to rethink movement. But now I want you to exclusively take the pictures where you are changing the shutter speed. That's going to be a big change. Don't worry if you take pictures and they go too bright, too dark at the beginning. That's all part of the learning curve. I want you to be kind of strict on yourselves. And then I want to give you the theme, which is kind of good. We're getting the tail end of it, but it's a good theme to give you. It's much more abstract, and I feel like you as a group can handle this one. I'm going to give you the theme of decay.
Decay.
And I don't want to give too much away other than that. That can be anything. I really don't want to tell you too much about it. Look at movement and decay. They don't have to be, you can take two separate pictures. You can go and take a picture of a fountain and play around with the shutter speed and send me those pictures. But to give you something that's really going to make you think creatively and out the box, think about decay. Because I really want you to take fresh pictures. I don't want you to send me old pictures if possible.
Fresh pictures.
Since you got a question.
I have a question. Yes, I know that you had us all sign up with a Lightroom so that we would all have the same kind of thing. Is this something that we can do on our phone as well? Can we go to our phone and not use this app, but change the...
Great question. Again, depends on the phone you have. So a different answer for Apple. Apple, I can tell you definitely not. You have to have a third-party app. It doesn't have to be Lightroom, but Lightroom is by far the most popular one because there's lots you can do. There's lots of apps you can download on an Android or an iPhone that just allow you to use a slow shutter speed, for example. There's one really popular one called Slow Shutter Cam.
Got it.
That's just for those people who want to start doing like those star trail pictures. And you can, but not to the same level as using the Lightroom app. So I would highly recommend. It's not mandatory and you don't have to do it, but I think, as I say, I've taught so many thousands of students and I've never heard anyone say something negative about Lightroom. I get paid nothing to tell you to use it, other than everyone else uses it, and it's by far and away become the #1 photography app. Anyone else got any questions? Neil, go for it.
When you say take a picture where you change the shutter speed, do you want us to take the same thing with two different shutter
You
speeds?
don't have to send those to me, but I want you as an exercise to find something with movement, and I want you to maybe take 4, 5, 6, 8 pictures at different shutter speeds, because that for you is really going to solidify, that's what that shutter speed does. That's what this shutter speed does to the moving subject. Send me your
And then pick one.
Yeah, then pick one. Yeah, send me about 3 pictures, same as usual. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording there, or let me actually confirm.
One question before you go.
Oh, hey, Nick.
Yeah, the Usain Bolt picture, they're panning a little bit. Is there a shutter speed you recommend for panning pictures?
Good
Say you're in
question.
Africa or
Great
something like that.
question. Go somewhere between 1/5 and 1/50th, depending on how fast the subject's moving. Like if you were
Okay, thank
photographing
you.
Usain Bolt or an F1 card, then the shutter speed is slightly different than if you were photographing a pelican that's like gently flying across the sky. But that's a good to have a go with that, Nick, with the panning technique, the slow shutter
Thank you.
speed. That's a good one to practice. Okay, great. So our next class is on Monday, Feb 23rd. So 2 weeks from now, same time, 9 a.m. And if you have any questions on the Lightroom aspect of things, I know everyone's got individual phones and just as I say, please send me, you've all got my email, you can send me an email. I'll send you the lesson recording later today. I'll also send you, just in case you want it, just while it's in the top of my mind, this case, if you need it, because it's a great way if you don't have a tripod to be able to just make your phone into a tripod and then you don't have to touch it. It's good for the slow shutter speed stuff. And I'll see you all in 2 weeks. Okay? Have a great day, everyone. See you soon.